What is happening? So today we're going to talk about the best list to pull for cold calling. I've got 3 to 4 great ones that we call all the time and we have the best success on. Stay tuned for which ones those are. What's happening, guys? So if you are having issues with, finding good lists to be able to close deals with, I'm here to help you out on that right now. List number 1 is non-owner occupied. And the reason for that is, obviously, if the seller is not living in the property, it's not as much of a hassle for them to sell the property, right? It might be a rental property for them. So if it's a rental property, it's going to be a lot easier for them to get the tenants out. It's going to be a lot easier for them to just take the funds from that and transfer it maybe into a new project, a new property that they might be interested in. So that's where it makes a little bit more sense when it comes to a non-owner occupied property. Because again, think about it. If you're trying to buy someone's property where they are living there, they're going to have to find a new place to live. They're going to have to, they're going to have to move all their furniture. They're going to have to, get all that kind of stuff all set for them. So it just makes a lot more sense to go after non-owner occupied. List number 2 that we have the best luck with is a high equity list. So for example, when you have a seller that has a lot of money in their property, it's going to be easier for them to sell because they will be able to take those funds and they will be able to transfer that into something else. If you're calling people that don't have any equity in their properties, it doesn't make sense for them to sell it because when they go to sell it, they might not be able to have any funds to be able to put into a new property. So that's kind of the main reason why, again, high equity is a great call, a great list to call. List number 3 is going to be properties not sold within the last, say, 5 or 6 years. So again, the reason for that is because if these people have owned these properties for longer than that time frame, it's going to make more sense for them to sell the property. If they have owned them for, only 1 or 2 years, they might not have built up enough equity in the property unless you're talking about, America in the last year and a half where it just absolutely exploded. But usually in a typical scenario, they won't have gained enough equity in the property to where it makes sense for them to sell it. So again, make sure that they have owned the property for at least 5 years, and then make sure that you've got a non-owner occupied property. And then lastly, make sure you've got high equity in it. And if you can hit those 3, you're going to get a really good chance of that person looking to sell their property. And finally, list number 4 for us. Again, this is us, this is for us over at Viking Real Estate. What works best is zip codes that you are very familiar with or zip codes that are doing very well. So again, this one's going to be a little bit more difficult for you. You might need to do a little bit more research on the areas that you're calling in. But Jake and I, we know the zips that, if we buy in this specific area that, okay, hey, these properties they're definitely going to go over asking price, right? Or these properties in this zip code are going to pull in $400 a square foot or $300 a square foot opposed to $250 a square foot. So the thing that's kind of nice is that you can kind of pick and choose those zips and you can kind of alter your offers on them based off of, what those areas are bringing in. So again, we have one specific area in a city that we call in a lot that we just know if we get anything in that area, we will basically pay a minimum $350,000 for it. Like no matter what it is, no matter what the condition, no matter how big it is, if we can find any property in this area and it's, $350,000 or cheaper, it's going to make sense for us. And again, that's just knowing zip codes. That's knowing certain areas that no matter what, you will do well in that area on. And again, for us, it helps to have different exit strategies. So if you can kind of, get to that point where you are having different exit strategies, hey, this makes sense as a wholesale, but then we could also flip it. We could also have the option of Airbnb-ing it. So if you can kind of give yourself those options, it opens the door for, you being able to spend a little bit more on these properties as well. Which, that's what Jake and I have been doing recently is, okay, we know that we want to buy this property in this neighborhood. And if we can't get it at this price where it doesn't make sense to wholesale or flip it, we know that this will be a great Airbnb market just based off of where it's at. So those are my 4 lists for you. I hope you enjoyed those. They're the 4 lists that we hit the most when we're not doing like super specialized lists. So yeah, guys, enjoy those lists and go get some deals.